The old alleyways of the city smelled of rain and forgotten history. But if you turned down a narrow path off the main square, you would find a shop that smelled only of brass, oil, and time. The sign above the door simply read, "The Chronometer." Inside sat Master Alistair. For 50 years, he had been the city's master clockmaker. People brought him timepieces from all over the world, heirlooms that had survived world wars, pocket watches dragged through shipwrecks, and grand pendulums that had chimed for generations of kings. Alistair could look at a machine, listen to its heartbeat for 3 seconds, and tell you exactly where it was bleeding time. One rainy evening, just before closing, the bell above the door chimed. A young man stepped inside. His coat was damp, his hair messy, and his eyes carried the heavy, frantic look of someone who was running a race he was losing. He threw himself into the wooden chair across from Alistair's workbench. "Master Alistair," the young man said, his voice trembling with exhaustion. "I was told you are a wise man. I need your help. My life is slipping through my fingers." Alistair didn't look up immediately. He carefully placed a tiny magnifying loupe over his right eye, adjusting a delicate spring inside a gold pocket watch. "Is your watch broken, young man?" "No," the young man replied, shaking his head. "My life is broken. I have grand plans. I want to build a legacy, write a masterpiece, build a business, and become a man of true character. But every year I look back, and another 12 months have vanished. I achieve nothing. I am constantly waiting for the right moment, a grand transformation, a sign. But it never comes. I am bleeding years." The old clockmaker remained silent. He carefully picked up a pair of brass tweezers, reached into the heart of a massive ancient grandfather clock mechanism resting on his desk, and pulled out a single component. He held it up to the lamplight. It was a gear so tiny it could have sat unnoticed on the tip of a sewing needle. "Look at this," Alistair whispered. The young man leaned in, squinting. "It's just a gear. Most people come to my shop believing that a clock keeps time because of the heavy weights, the long mainspring, or the loud, dramatic pendulum," Alistair said, his voice as steady as a ticking metronome. "They focus on the grand parts. But look closer at this gear. Do you see this tooth?" The young man looked closer. One of the microscopic teeth on the edge of the tiny gear was minutely bent. It was barely visible to the naked eye. "Because of this single microscopic flaw," Alistair continued, "the gear slips for a fraction of a millisecond every few minutes. To a normal person, a fraction of a millisecond is nothing. It is invisible. But by the end of the day, the clock loses an hour. By the end of the year, it loses weeks. The clock doesn't fail because of a decade of wear. It fails because of one microscopic gear slipping for a fraction of a second." The old man set the gear down and looked directly into the young man's eyes. "Your life works exactly the same way. You are obsessing over 5-year plans and waiting for a monumental shift to change your soul. But someday is a lie designed to keep you from ever becoming the person you want to be. The soul isn't built out of years. It is built entirely out of the immediate present." The young man sat back, the words hitting him like a physical blow. "We throw away our seconds," Alistair said softly, leaning forward over his workbench. "We tell ourselves, 'I will give in to anger just this once. I will compromise my integrity just for this 1 minute. I will waste this 1 hour. It doesn't matter.' But when you do that, the microscopic gear of your character slips. You aren't losing a war against decades, young man. You are losing a war against the next 60 seconds." The shop fell entirely silent, save for the rhythmic, overlapping tick-tock of 100 clocks on the walls. For the first time, the young man didn't look at the clocks as a reminder of how late it was. He looked at them as a reminder of how much was happening right now. "Stop waiting for a grand transformation," Alistair said, picking his magnifying loupe back up and returning to his work. "Your character is won or lost in the microscopic friction of a single tick. By mastering the precision of the current moment, you stop bleeding time.
Your life isn't measured in the grand total of your years. The old man paused, and a final, clear chime echoed through the room. It is measured in the absolute integrity of right now. Your soul is being forged in this very heartbeat. The young man stood up slowly. He didn't say anything. He didn't need to. He buttoned his coat, stepped back out into the rainy night, and for the first time in his life, he wasn't running. He walked, feeling the exact weight of every single step.